everybody. Today we're going to work on a text, A Planet in Need of Repair. We did the shortcut to the text yesterday, and as I let you know in the group chat today, the very first part of this class is going to be just listening to the text and reading the words. I unfortunately did not scan all the pages for you, so what you have are the first three pages, I believe, and you don't have the last one. But please focus on looking at the words as you listen. Here is what I told people in the group chat. Some of you have expressed to me that the listening activities are hard to focus on and that you can't really stand to just listen to it, that it's a bit too much for you. So if that is the case, then you will come into the class after that bit is done and over with, and you can come in just for the discussion portion of the class and when we talk about proverbs and so on. I feel personally that you have to work on that and power through and try to do the listening activities. Listening and looking at the words is really important. It makes you a better communicator, makes you a better speller. A lot of you are still misspelling words like with, which, and there's a lot of different examples. If you start focusing on reading more, you become a better speller. Reading and listening to the words makes you also a better speller. So, as boring as you might think it is, you should still try to do it. So the first part of the class will be just the text. I am exempting those of you who have a problem with that sort of thing, because some of you have expressed to me that you have a problem with it, and some of you may have an actual problem with it, have a problem with focusing, you have ADD or ADHD or any other type of disability, learning disability that might affect your focus. I accept that, that's fine. But those of you who don't have any of those issues and you just, oh, I don't want to listen, that's not a good excuse. So please focus on listening and reading. If you have the book with you, you'll be able to follow the entire text. If you don't have the book with you, I I only gave you 4 of the pages, and one of them is a picture, and I apologize for that. I scanned them at work yesterday, and I don't have all the pages here with me right now. But it doesn't matter because we'll be able to discuss the topic, and those of you who have the book at home will be able to do it. And I'm also I'm providing you with a link for you to listen to it on your own if the sound quality here on this video is not good. And you have behind me planet Earth, because the whole point of the text is a planet in need of repair. I know that the special effects are not fantastic, but that's planet Earth. So without further ado, let's go on and listen.
A Planet in Need of Repair. More than 30 years ago, the American writer Kurt Vonnegut, 1922 to 2007, was asked to write a text with advice for people living 100 years in the future. Here is an excerpt from the letter he wrote. Ladies and gentlemen of AD 2088. It has been suggested that you might welcome words of wisdom from the past. as you people 100 years from now must know full and well, and as your grandchildren will know even better, nature is ruthless when it comes to matching the quantity of life in any given place at any given time to the quantity of nourishment available. The sort of leaders we need now are not those who promise ultimate victory over nature through continuing to live as we do right now, but those with the courage and intelligence to present to the world what appears to be nature's stern but reasonable surrender terms. 1. Reduce and stabilize your population. 2. Stop poisoning the air, the water, and the topsoil. 3. Stop preparing for war and start dealing with your real problems. 4. Teach your kids, and yourselves too while you're at it, how to inhabit a small planet without helping to kill it. 5. Stop thinking science can fix anything if you give it $1 trillion. 6. Stop thinking your grandchildren will be okay no matter how wasteful or destructive you may be, since they can go to a nice new planet on a spaceship. 7. And so on, or else. Cheers. Kurt Vonnegut. According to the US Census Bureau, the population of the world was 7,607,792,600 on October the 30th, 2019 at 15:18 p.m. An hour later, the global population had increased to 7,607,801,456. That is over 7.5 billion people living in 195 countries and speaking almost 7,000 different languages. 7.5 billion individuals with their distinct ideas, needs, and desires. 7.5 billion inhabitants of planet Earth, a planet that in many ways is in need of repair. Overpopulation. Reduce and stabilize your population is the first piece of advice in Kurt Vonnegut's letter, written at a time when the world population was a mere 5 billion people. Overpopulation is a situation in which too many people live in a certain area. Increase in population is not just about the number of children who survive birth and infancy. Another cause is that people live longer, thanks to advances in medicine. For the first time in history, old people outnumber young people in countries such as Italy, New Zealand, and Japan. More people means more strain on the world's resources. Necessity is the mother of invention, however, and people often find ways to stretch resources to support a larger number of people, such as growing more food using less land mass and developing renewable sources of energy. Still, the United Nations estimates that nearly 1 billion people were undernourished in 2018. Enough food is produced in the world to feed everybody, but it is not distributed evenly. People in the industrialized world have more than enough food, resulting in problems such as food waste and obesity. In developing countries, overpopulation and climate change cause famines, especially in war zones and areas where farming has become difficult because of drought. 98% of the world's hungry live in the developing world. Every second, a person on our planet dies of hunger. Well into the 21st century, hunger is still the world's biggest health problem. Water crisis. Every morning I am up before the sun. 3 times a day I walk 2 miles to fetch water for my sister, my grandmother, and me. While I walk, I dream about going to school. I dream about becoming a doctor. Violet, 10, Zambia. Fresh water resources only make up 1% of the water on the planet. Water is essential to life. Yet for 844 million people in the world, 1 in 9, clean water is something they can only dream of. Globally, 1 in 3 lack access to a toilet. This lack of sanitation causes contamination of drinking water and the spread of diseases. Every day, more than 1,600 children under the age of 5 die of diarrhea as a result of drinking unsafe water. It is often women and children who suffer most from the lack of clean drinking water. On average, women and children around the world spend 125 million hours a day collecting water. In Africa and Asia, they walk an average of 6 kilometers every day to collect enough water for their family's survival. Many girls in developing countries do not receive any education, as they are too busy with chores, such as fetching water. Yet there is hope. United Nations statistics show that in 1990, 76% of the world's population had access to a safe drinking source, while this number had risen to 91% in 2015. There are many global organizations working to help people affected by water shortage, and their efforts have led to positive developments in recent decades. Local communities are digging wells and installing proper sanitation. Climate change. As far back as scientists can measure, our planet has never become this warm this quickly. The rate is the problem. Ice at the poles is melting, with CO2 mixing into oceans. This makes the oceans acidic, causing ocean life to die. Furthermore, the warming oceans are expanding, so sea levels are rising. More heat in the air means more energy, more storms, more droughts, and more floods. The increase in extreme weather affects places all over the world. In Africa, for example, many areas depend on the monsoon season for successful farming. If the rainy season is shortened, or if it does not take place, the results are drought and a decrease in food production. Climate migrants are people who cannot live where they used to because of extreme weather conditions. According to a United Nations study, as many as 200 million people might classify as climate migrants by 2050. In recent years, more politicians and governments around the world have tried to combat global warming and climate change. The Paris Agreement of 2015 was a landmark event in this battle. Its central aim is to keep the global temperature rise this century well below 2 degrees Celsius. The agreement requires the 195 countries who signed it to strengthen their efforts to reach this goal in the years ahead. Right now, we are facing a man-made disaster of global scale. Our greatest threat in thousands of years? Climate change. If we don't take action, the collapse of our civilizations and the extinction of much of the natural world is on the horizon. Sir David Attenborough. In denial of climate change. It is not just the planet's climate that is changing, however. The political climate can also alter quickly. The year after the Paris meeting, Donald Trump became president of the USA, the world's second largest carbon polluter. Trump is very skeptical about man-made climate change and believes that environmental concerns should not get in the way of business interests and job opportunities for Americans. Trump announced that the USA was going to withdraw from the Paris Agreement, claiming that it would cause a very diminished quality of life for Americans. Since then, the USA has loosened regulations around oil and gas drilling. Positive change. It would be wonderful for our planet if everyone, all 7.5 billion of us, worked together for the benefit of our planet. At present, this is still a dream. However, an ever-increasing number of people are becoming involved in fighting for the planet's future. This is especially true of the younger generations, who are urging politicians, business owners, and consumers to take a stand and become more concerned with climate change, global warming, pollution, and the world's water crisis. One of the leaders of this awakening is the Swedish climate activist Greta Thunberg, who at the age of 15 started a school strike to demand immediate action from politicians. In 2019, an estimated 1.4 million students in 112 countries joined her in her strike. Many positive changes are taking place, and employers and their employees are very conscious of the environment. Companies have been going green for several decades. Many companies have been aiming to use a lot less paper and recycling the paper they do use. They also recycle cardboard boxes, plastic bottles, food, and other recyclable products. Some companies have given their employees a company bicycle so they can cycle to work, or an electric car that does not contribute to smog. Many people who work with computers have switched to energy-saving computers, monitors, and printers, and energy-saving settings which put the computer in sleep mode after a short time. In addition, people are more likely to turn off the lights in the office before they go home than they were just a few years ago. We have come a long way. But because the population of the world is increasing so rapidly, it is more important than ever that our everyday lives and working lives do not affect the environment in a negative way.
Okay, so hopefully everybody is here right now. Everybody was told when to come in. I warned everybody who has migraines, ADHD, ADD, some sort of focusing problem with the listening activities, especially the long listening activities. I warned everybody to come in after a certain time, and I also gave everyone the link to where you can access this listening activity yourself if you are one of the people who have trouble focusing. Some people have trouble focusing on this type of activity, I've been told, and I respect that. Although I really think it's very, very important. Look at the words as you listen is a fantastic way to improve your spelling, to improve your pronunciation, to improve your cadence of your speech, everything. Let's talk about this text for a bit. I'm going to show you some of the activities about it. A planet in need of repair. This is what we did yesterday with the boys. I hope you didn't see all the answers. I'm gonna put my video here so that we can focus on the text. Let's see. I'm also going to make the text bigger so that you can read it on the screen. These are true or false statements. I'm not going to put the answers in here. I'm going to have you do it in the chat box. I want to see you typing it in. Which statements are true and which statements are false? The first one is from the very beginning of the text, which is that letter that Kurt Vonnegut advised the people on that letter. The American writer Kurt Vonnegut, or Vonnegut, we can pronounce his name in a different way, I guess, depending on where we're from, advised the people of the future to start producing more children. True or false? Just write in the chat box. I want to see that you're following. The second statement. According to the text, there are 7.5 billion people on planet Earth. Very important that I don't know when people will be watching this video. For those of you watching it today, it might very well be a current statement. But if the book is still in use years from now and someone is using this video as a reference, look, it says, according to the text, there are 7.5 billion people on planet Earth. Why am I calling your attention to this? Well, oftentimes when you take exams, you will have a statement according to the text. According to the text means that you have to give an answer based on what you read, right? Because maybe you read a text and you know that the information is not exactly that. You read it and you're like, wait a minute, Shakespeare was the one that wrote the play Romeo and Juliet. It wasn't Edgar Allan Poe, but the text says it was Edgar Allan Poe. But then if it says according to the text, then you have to choose whatever the text presents to you. I'm saying this because in a lot of situations when you take exams like TOEFL, TOEIC, YELTS, all of those, and maybe you'll be saying to me, hey, I'm not going to take those exams. Well, you might one day, especially those of you who will finish high school here in this Institute of Higher Education, and you will go on to maybe study medicine. If you decide to become a doctor, English will be a large portion of what you need to know. A lot of the textbooks are in English. You may have to take an exam to prove that you have the ability to understand and communicate in English. So those exams are very important. They're crucial to your future. And oftentimes when it says according to the text, people will be like, I know that information is false, so I don't care what the text says. I'm going to go in with my information. Do not do that. Follow the instructions on your exam sheet. And in this case here, according to the text, there are 7.5 billion people on planet Earth. True or false? Let me know in the chat box. Let me know. The next one. I am in the chat interacting with you and typing, although not in real time. Not right now, but by the time when you're watching this, I'm there. There is a bit of a delay. The next statement. I'm being really careful with this headset. It's the first time I'm actually making a video class for you on a live premiere like this using it. It's very sensitive and I don't want it to sound like, like when people are screaming into the microphone. So I'm talking at a lower register than I normally do. My voice kind of probably sounds a bit weird because of that. The next statement, There is more than enough food in the world to feed everybody, but it's not distributed evenly. Evenly. Let me give you an example. There are 16 people in the class, and I have 32 pieces of chicken, and I decide to give everybody, each and every one of you, 2 pieces of chicken evenly, right? Or there are 16 people in a given group. There are 8 boys and 8 girls. So they're evenly distributed. There is the same amount of boys as there are girls. I hope it's not politically incorrect to say this, boys and girls. I never know these days because there is a whole gender thing, and I try to respect everyone's wishes for how they want to be referred to. But nowadays it's a bit iffy. You never know what you can say and what you cannot say. There are certain families nowadays that have chosen not to disclose their child's gender, and they're referred to with a different pronoun, not he or she, but maybe they. So I just want to respect everyone. But I was just trying to explain the word evenly. Even. Everything is even. So the food in the world, do you think there is enough food in the world to feed everybody? Or there's not enough food and that's why some people are starving? Or is the statement here true? There is more than enough food in the world to feed everybody, but it is not distributed evenly. True or false? Type your answers in. Type your answers in. The next one. Obesity is the world's biggest health problem. Is it? What do you think? Is obesity the world's biggest health problem? It is one of the biggest, but not the biggest. That's very important as well when you're taking an exam. If you have an alternative that excludes everything and says this is the only one, right? That's very dangerous. Unless that if it says according to the text, this is the best, right? But it doesn't say the best on the text, it says one of the best, then it's incorrect. So you have to be very vigilant of this type of thing. True or false? I'd like you to work on I'm definitely going to give you a link to work on this on your own because I want you to work on some of these activities, the digital activities from the book. And I want you to give me some feedback on what you think about them because this book, Citizens, is actually brand new. It's very important. I really want to write feedback to the authors and talk about it myself. Okay, which one is the next one? Which one is the next statement? Lack of sanitation plays no part in the spread of diseases in developing countries. What do you think about that? Lack of, the absence of. So there isn't enough sanitation. What is sanitation, girls? Tell me what you think sanitation is. What is sanitation? What is it? It has something to do with the sewerage system of having toilets and and fresh water, all of that. So, do you think that the reason why there is a lot of diseases, there are a lot of diseases in the world spreading in developing countries? What's a developing country? A country that is not up here, like Norway is fully developed. Norway is like top notch. You have everything, all the best life quality, standards, not that much poverty, not that much criminality. Your country pretty much is rocking it, to put it in layman terms. And then you have countries that don't have everything that Norway has, where people struggle to make a living, where there is a lot of poverty. Those are developing countries. They're not up here with Norway. They're down here trying to get to where Norway is. Those are developing countries. So in those countries, some people don't have fresh water. This is one of the things that they talk about in the text. So do you think that the reason why there are some diseases is because of this lack of sanitation? Or do you think it's true what the statement says? Lack of sanitation plays no part in the spread of diseases in developing countries. True or false? Let me know what you think. It is very important. Let me know in chat what you think. So those words are going to be words that you need to know. Sanitation, lack of, that expression, lack of, what does that mean? The lack of something, the absence of something. On this level, a lot is expected of you. If there is an exam, I know that there is talk of, oh, this year there's not going to be an exam because the pandemic is still around and things are not the way they normally are. So, but there might be an exam. And guess what? If there is an exam, a lot will be on a lot will be expected of you. And I think that a lot of you don't realize that the teacher who has the students in her class or his class, they're male teachers too, they will be having a, well, they have a tendency to be a little bit lenient with the grades. What does that mean? It means that, let us just take, and I'm going to take a hypothetical student. I'm not going to say somebody from our class. I'm not going to name names, right? Let us just take Alexander. And I'm saying purposely Alexander because I don't have an Alexander this year. So I can safely say that without meaning a real person. So Alexander is my student. He speaks in class. He does all his homework. When he writes compositions, essays, when he writes argumentative text, he rocks the class. He's slaying at everything. He's just at the top. But then he's getting a 6 in my class because he's doing everything perfectly. But then on the day of the exam, he has an oral test with a censor, with an outside teacher who's going to examine Alexander. And Alexander's like, I'm so nervous. I've never seen this person before. And he doesn't produce the type of work that he does in a classroom. And he ends up with a 3. How about that? That can easily happen. And it has happened to me before when a student of mine, again, I'm not going to name any names, I've been teaching for 30 years, so this could be anybody. I'm not going to say who it was. 31 years soon I've been teaching. She was amazing. She was getting the equivalent to a 5. I'm saying equivalent not to give up where this happened. Could have been Australia, Brazil, Norway, could have been anywhere where I've been a teacher. She was getting a 5. She was really great. She did all her homework. She wrote with very few mistakes, very few things that she had to fix, but she was really good. She was getting a 5, the equivalent to a 5 with me. And then an outside teacher came for an examination and she was nervous and she got herself a 2. And that was devastating to me because I was like, what? Then he puts in question, okay, so what is wrong with you, Pollyanna? You're giving this person a 5? Or it can also make her feel like, I was getting a 5. How much worse could I have gotten? So please, if you come up for an exam in English, you will have to really clean up those mistakes. Look at those sheets that I gave you. Oh, I threw those away. Well, if you threw away your sheets, ask me for a new one. Find the mistakes in the sentences. Remember, I've given you those. Look at those and try not to make those mistakes and try to write essays with the format that I've given you. Paragraphs. Usually, a good paragraph has between 10 and 12 sentences. An essay has the minimum of 3 paragraphs. But I digress. We're almost done here, I promise you. I'm not going to keep you for too long because I know that you have other stuff to do. And I'm also going to allot some time for you to do your work for this class. So I don't want to keep you for too long. But just keep in mind these things that I'm saying. Please keep them in mind. Back to our planet in need of repair. Let's take a look and see. Our planet is in need of repair. That could also be a very interesting topic for you to write an essay about. That would be fantastic. Many girls in developing countries do not receive any education because they're too busy with chores such as fetching water, to fetch, to get, to obtain. So you can say to the dog, you throw something and you tell the dog, go fetch. You can do that or not, but fetch, to go get something. So they fetch water. Is this true? According to the text, everything that you answer here has to do with the text that you just read and listened to. True or false? Give me the answers. The very last is 100 countries signed the Paris Agreement in 2015. Look at the number. Is it 100? Was it 100? Was it more? Was it less? Or is this accurate? True or false? I would like you to keep working on this. I would like you to do, I'm going to give you the link. You go in with your login, with your official login as a student, which is in Norwegian is Feide. And I want you to do all of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'll give you the link for you to complete the exercises. And then I want you to take pictures or screenshots of the exercises and send them to me. This is the assignment for the day. We're going to do one round of Quizlet Live, and then you're all free to live your lives and be happy and have a good day. Please get your phones. Remember, the code may be a different code, okay, than what you see on the screen because this is a sample game that I'm playing just for the recording. Okay, everyone, have a great day. Send me screenshots of those exercises.